Part 1: The Boy Beneath the Whispering Mountain. Long before cities reached the distant valleys, before roads climbed the silent hills, there stood an ancient mountain wrapped in soft gray mist. Travelers rarely crossed its winding paths because they believed the mountain whispered forgotten dreams to anyone who stayed after sunset. Hidden deep inside that mountain was a small cave. The cave was not grand. It had rough stone walls, a narrow entrance covered by green vines, and a tiny spring that dripped clear water into a shallow pool. During the day, warm sunlight slipped through the opening and painted golden shapes across the rocky floor. At night, thousands of stars watched quietly from above, filling the entrance with gentle silver light. A boy named Eli lived there alone. Eli was poor. He owned only a small wool blanket, a wooden bowl, a clay cup, and an old lantern that barely stayed lit during windy nights. His clothes were patched many times, and his shoes had long since worn away. Most days he walked barefoot across soft moss and cool stones. Yet no one had ever heard him complain. He gathered berries from the forest, collected mushrooms after gentle rains, and caught fish from a narrow stream that flowed beside the mountain. Whatever nature offered, he accepted with gratitude. If he found more food than he needed, he always left some beside the forest trail. "Perhaps another hungry traveler will smile today," he often whispered. Many animals came to know him. A shy rabbit visited every morning. A sleepy owl rested above the cave entrance each afternoon. Even nervous deer stood nearby without fear while Eli quietly hummed peaceful songs. The forest trusted him because he never took more than he needed. One quiet evening, while the sky slowly turned orange and purple, Eli discovered something unusual. Near the spring rested a tiny glowing stone. It was no larger than an acorn. Soft blue light shimmered inside it like moonlight trapped beneath crystal. Eli picked it up carefully. "It must belong to someone," he said. Instead of keeping it, he placed the glowing stone on a flat rock outside the cave where anyone searching could easily find it. Night slowly covered the mountain. The wind became gentle. Leaves whispered together. Far away, wolves sang peaceful songs beneath the stars. As Eli prepared to sleep beside the fading lantern, he heard 3 soft knocks echo from the cave entrance. Knock, knock, knock. No traveler ever climbed the mountain after dark. The sound came again, slow, patient, almost polite. Eli stood quietly, lifted the lantern, and walked toward the entrance. Outside waited an old woman wrapped in a long silver cloak. Her white hair flowed like clouds beneath the moon. Her eyes sparkled with kindness, though they seemed older than the mountain itself. She smiled gently. "I believe," she said in a calm voice, "you have found something that many kings have searched for, yet only one poor boy chose not to keep." Eli looked toward the glowing stone resting on the flat rock. He simply nodded. "I thought someone might be missing it." The old woman smiled even wider. Far above them, the stars seemed to shine just a little brighter. Part 2: The Keeper of Forgotten Dreams. The old woman stepped quietly into the cave, her silver cloak brushing softly against the stone walls. Strangely, the tiny lantern grew brighter the moment she entered, as if it recognized an old friend. Eli offered her his only wooden stool. "It isn't much," he said with a warm smile, "but please sit." The woman accepted. "You have very little," she observed. "I have enough," Eli replied. "The mountain gives me water. The forest gives me food. The stars give me company." The old woman looked at him for a long moment. Then she gently picked up the glowing blue stone from the flat rock outside. "This is called a dreamstone," she explained. "Long ago, these stones were scattered across the world. They hold peaceful dreams, forgotten hopes, and gentle memories. Most people who find one become greedy. They hide it, sell it, or fight over it." Eli looked surprised. "It belongs to you now." She smiled softly. "No, it belongs to whoever chooses kindness over wealth." Eli shook his head. "I only wanted its owner to find it." The woman's eyes sparkled. "That is exactly why it chose you." Outside, a cool breeze carried the scent of pine trees through the cave entrance. Tiny fireflies appeared one by one, filling the night with floating lights like tiny stars. The woman reached into her cloak and placed the dreamstone in Eli's hands once more. "Keep it," She whispered. I don't need magic. It is not magic that changes the world, she answered. It simply reveals what already lives inside a good heart. As soon as Eli held the stone, its gentle blue light spread across the cave walls. Strange pictures appeared in the glowing light. He saw forests that stretched beyond the horizon. Golden rivers flowed through peaceful valleys. Ancient castles stood beneath the northern lights. A giant library floated among soft white clouds. Then the vision slowly faded. Eli blinked in amazement. Are those real places? They are, the woman replied. But they can only be found by those who never allow greed to guide their steps. Silence settled between them. Finally, the old woman stood. I must leave before sunrise. So soon? My work never ends. She walked toward the entrance, then stopped. When the full moon rises 7 nights from now, climb to the highest cliff above this mountain. What will happen there? Eli asked. You will receive your first invitation. Invitation to where? The woman only smiled. You'll know when the time comes. Before Eli could ask another question, a gentle wind swept through the trees. The fireflies circled around her. Their tiny lights became brighter and brighter until they surrounded her completely. For just a heartbeat, the cave entrance shimmered like calm water beneath moonlight. Then, she was gone. No footprints remained. Only the quiet forest stood beneath the stars. Eli looked down at the dreamstone resting in his hands. It felt warm, almost alive. He placed it carefully beside his blanket and lay down to sleep. Outside, the mountain whispered softly through the trees. Far away, hidden beyond the clouds, someone, or something, had already begun watching the humble boy who lived in the cave. And for the very first time in many centuries, the whispering mountain seemed to be waiting. Part 3: The 7 Quiet Nights. The morning after the old woman's visit felt different. Golden sunlight slipped into the cave as always, warming the stone floor in the little spring beside the entrance. Birds sang cheerful songs, and the breeze carried the sweet scent of pine and wildflowers. Yet something invisible had changed. The dreamstone still rested beside Eli's blanket. Its blue glow had become softer, almost like the calm light of the moon reflected on a peaceful lake. Eli carefully placed it inside a small cloth pouch and tied it around his neck. I'll keep you safe, he whispered. The days passed quietly. Every morning Eli collected berries, filled his clay cup with fresh spring water, and greeted the familiar forest animals. The shy rabbit still appeared at sunrise. The sleepy owl still blinked from its favorite tree branch. Even the curious fox returned each evening, sitting silently near the cave entrance as though listening to the mountain breathe. On the 3rd day, Eli found an old traveler resting beneath a large oak tree. The man's boots were torn. His face looked tired. His water bottle was empty. Without hesitation, Eli offered him fresh water from the spring and shared the berries he had gathered that morning. You hardly have enough for yourself, the traveler said. Eli smiled. When food is shared, it somehow feels larger. The traveler thanked him and continued on his journey. As he disappeared down the winding trail, he quietly turned back once. For just a brief moment, his eyes shimmered with the same gentle silver light that had glowed in the old woman's eyes. Then he was gone. That evening, the dreamstone glowed a little brighter. On the 5th day, heavy rain covered the mountain. Cold winds swept across the cliffs. A tiny bird, soaked by the storm, fluttered helplessly near the cave entrance. Eli wrapped it gently inside his only wool blanket until its feathers became dry again. The little bird chirped happily before flying into the gray sky. Once more, the dreamstone shone with a warmer blue light. By the 7th evening, the clouds had vanished. The full moon rose slowly above the mountain, larger and brighter than Eli had ever seen. Remembering the old woman's words, he climbed the narrow path toward the highest cliff. The journey was steep. Cool night air brushed against his face. Thousands of stars glittered above him, lighting the path like tiny lanterns. At last, he reached the summit. The entire valley stretched below him, peaceful and silent beneath the silver moonlight. Nothing happened. Eli waited patiently. Minutes passed. The wind became perfectly still. Then, the dreamstone suddenly grew warm against his chest. Its gentle blue light spread across the rocky ground. Thin glowing lines appeared beneath his feet, weaving together into an enormous circle covered with ancient symbols. The symbols slowly began to move. Soft music floated through the air. It sounded unlike any instrument Eli had ever heard. The moonlight gathered into a single shining beam at the center of the circle. Inside the light, a doorway slowly appeared. Not made of wood, not made of stone. It was formed entirely from silver light. Beyond the doorway lay a path of glowing clouds stretching into a sky filled with stars that seemed closer than ever before. A calm voice echoed through the night. "Welcome, Eli. You have passed the first test. Step forward, if your heart carries no greed." Part 4: The Hidden Valley Above the Clouds. Eli stood before the doorway of silver light. The mountain wind moved around him, but the strange glowing entrance remained perfectly still. Beyond it was a world he had never imagined. A path made of clouds stretched into the distance, surrounded by countless stars that shimmered like tiny lanterns. For a moment, Eli wondered if he was dreaming. He looked back at the dark forest below. His cave was small. His life was simple. Nothing in his world had ever been grand or mysterious. Yet somehow, he felt peaceful. The voice returned. Many search for treasures hidden beyond this doorway. Many desire power, riches, and endless life. But few understand the true gift of the journey. Eli gently touched the dreamstone. "Where does this path lead?" he asked. "To the Valley of Forgotten Dreams." Eli had never heard of such a place. What is there? Everything people have lost because they stopped believing. The doorway shimmered brighter. Eli took a slow breath and stepped forward. The moment his foot touched the glowing path, he felt lighter than air. The mountain disappeared behind him. The forest vanished below. He was walking among the clouds. Soft white mist surrounded his feet, and distant stars floated beside him like glowing flowers. The journey was quiet and peaceful. There was no fear, only a strange feeling that he had finally arrived somewhere he had always known. After what felt like a few minutes, though it might have been hours, Eli saw something ahead. A valley. A beautiful valley hidden above the clouds. There were rivers that reflected the colors of sunrise and gardens filled with flowers that sang gentle melodies when the wind touched them. Tall trees grew with silver leaves. Small houses stood between hills, each glowing warmly like a candle in the night. But the most surprising thing was the people. Hundreds of people walked through the valley. Some were children, some were old, some looked like travelers. All of them carried small glowing lights in their hands. A young girl approached Eli. She wore a blue dress covered with tiny stars. "You are the cave boy," she said. Eli smiled. "Everyone knows me," she nodded. "The mountain has been waiting for someone like you for many years." "Why me?" The girl looked at the dreamstone. "Because you found something valuable and chose to return it." Eli became quiet. "It was just a stone." The girl laughed softly. "That is what makes you different." She led him through the valley. As they walked, Eli noticed something unusual. Many people were searching through empty gardens, looking beneath trees, and looking into clear rivers. "What are they looking for?" Eli asked. The girl looked a little sad. "They are searching for their forgotten dreams." "Can dreams be lost?" "Yes," she answered. "When people become too busy chasing gold, fame, and power, they sometimes lose the dreams that once made their hearts happy." They reached a beautiful crystal tower standing in the center of the valley. At the entrance waited the old woman from the cave. But now she looked different. She no longer appeared like a simple traveler. She wore a crown made of silver leaves, and her cloak shined like the night sky. Eli bowed politely. "Who are you?" The woman smiled. "I am the guardian of the Whispering Mountain." She looked toward the endless valley. "And you, Eli, have arrived at the place where your greatest journey begins." The tower doors opened slowly. Inside waited a room filled with thousands of glowing lights. Each light held a different memory, a different dream, a different story. The guardian pointed toward the center of the room. "Your next task is waiting." Eli stepped inside, and somewhere deep within the crystal tower, a forgotten dream began to awaken. Part 5: The Shadow Beside the Heart Tree. Eli stood silently beneath the enormous branches of the heart tree. The ancient tree was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its trunk was wider than a house, and its roots twisted through the earth like rivers of stone. Yet despite its greatness, it looked tired. Its gray leaves moved gently in the cold wind. Beside the tree stood a dark figure. At first, Eli thought it was a shadow created by the moonlight. But then the figure moved. It was a man wearing a long black cloak. His face was hidden beneath a hood, but his voice sounded calm and deep. "Another visitor has arrived." Eli held the wooden lantern tightly. "Who are you?" The stranger stepped closer. "My name has been forgotten. Long ago, people called me the guardian of the hard tree. If you are its guardian, why is the tree dying?" The figure looked toward the lifeless branches. "Because people forgot the meaning of dreams." Eli was confused. "Dreams?" The guardian nodded. "Everyone believes dreams are about gaining something. More gold, more power, more fame. But true dreams are not about taking. They are about becoming better and giving something meaningful to the world." The wind became stronger. A few gray leaves fell to the ground. "Then why can't you save it?" Eli asked. The guardian became silent. Finally, he answered, "Because I failed." Eli looked surprised. "How?" "Many years ago, I wanted to protect this tree forever. I wanted to become the greatest guardian who ever lived. My desire slowly became pride. I stopped protecting the tree for others and started protecting it for my own glory." The guardian lowered his head. "When my heart became selfish, the heart tree lost its light." Eli looked at the giant tree. "So the tree does not need power?" "No," the guardian whispered. "It needs kindness." Eli walked closer. "What should I do?" The guardian pointed toward the roots. "Place the dreamstone at the center of the tree's roots." Eli touched the pouch around his neck. "But this stone belongs to everyone." The guardian smiled beneath his hood. "That answer is why you were chosen." Eli removed the dreamstone and carefully placed it between the ancient roots. For a moment, nothing happened. The valley remained silent. Then, a tiny green leaf appeared on one of the branches. Another leaf followed. Then another. Slowly, the entire tree began to change. Gray leaves turned bright green. The roots glowed with golden light. The cold air became warm. Flowers appeared across the valley floor. The rivers began flowing again. Far away, the people of the village looked toward the mountain and saw a beautiful light rising into the sky. They began smiling. The heart tree had awakened. The guardian removed his hood. Eli finally saw his face. It was not the face of an old man. It was young and gentle, with eyes full of kindness. "I was trapped by my own mistake for hundreds of years," he said. "Only someone who wanted nothing for himself could release me." Eli looked around the valley. "Does this mean my journey is finished?" The guardian shook his head. "No." He looked toward the sky. "The dreamstone has chosen you because there are many places where forgotten dreams are waiting." The tree's branches moved softly. One golden leaf floated down and landed in Eli's hand. "This leaf will guide you." Suddenly, the sky above them opened. A new pathway of stars appeared. The guardian smiled. "Your next journey begins beyond the Valley of Dreams." Eli looked at the shining path ahead. He was still the same poor boy who lived in a cave. But now he understood something important. A person did not need wealth to change the world. Sometimes, the smallest kindness could awaken something that had been sleeping for centuries. Part 6: The Village That Forgot to Sleep. Eli followed the golden leaf as it floated gently through the sky. The leaf moved slowly, never too far ahead and never too close. It seemed to understand that Eli was not a person who rushed. He walked with patience, watching the endless beauty around him. The pathway of stars carried him beyond the Valley of Dreams. After many hours, the glowing path descended toward a quiet village hidden between tall silver mountains. As Eli stepped onto the ground, he noticed something strange. The village was beautiful. The houses were painted with warm colors. Flowers grew beside every window. Small streams flowed through the streets. But there was one unusual thing. Nobody was sleeping. Children played quietly beside their homes even though the moon was high above. Bakers prepared bread at midnight. Farmers walked through empty fields. Old people sat beside their doors, staring at the stars with tired eyes. The entire village looked exhausted. Eli approached a man carrying a basket of flowers. Excuse me, why is everyone awake at this hour? The man looked at him sadly. We cannot sleep anymore. Why? The man sighed. Many years ago, a strange wind passed through our village. Since that night, peaceful dreams have disappeared. Whenever people close their eyes, they hear endless whispers and frightening sounds. Eli remembered the dreamstone. Have you tried finding the cause? The man nodded. Many have searched, but the whispers always lead them back to the same place. Where? The man pointed toward a dark forest at the edge of the village. The forest of silent echoes. Eli thanked him and walked toward the forest. The trees there were taller than any trees he had seen before. Their branches twisted together, blocking most of the moonlight. As he entered, he heard voices. At first, they were quiet. Then they became clearer. You are alone. No one remembers you. You will always be poor. Eli stopped. The voices sounded familiar. They were the same whispers he had heard in the Silver Valley. But this time they felt different. They were not trying to tempt him with wealth. They were trying to make him feel small. Eli held the dreamstone. I know who I am, he said calmly. The whispers became louder. You live in a cave. You have nothing. You are not important. Eli closed his eyes. He remembered the animals that trusted him. He remembered the traveler who received water. He remembered the hard tree returning to life. I may have little, he whispered, but every kindness matters. The forest became silent. The dark trees slowly moved aside, revealing a hidden lake. At the center of the lake stood a small island. On that island was a tiny sleeping house. Smoke rose gently from its chimney. Eli crossed the water using stones that appeared beneath his feet. When he reached the house, the wooden door opened by itself. Inside was a room filled with hundreds of glass bottles. Each bottle contained a glowing dream. Some showed children laughing. Some showed families together. Some showed peaceful places. But many bottles were dark and empty. An old clock sat in the corner, ticking slowly. Then a small creature appeared. It looked like a tiny fox made of silver light. Welcome, Eli, it said. Eli stared in surprise. You know my name. The little fox nodded. The dreamstone told us you were coming. Who are you? I am Luma, the keeper of sleeping dreams. Eli looked around the room. What happened here? Luma lowered its head. A thief stole the dreams of this village and locked them away. Who stole them? The little fox looked toward the darkest corner of the room. The one who believes dreams belong only to those powerful enough to control them. A cold breeze entered the room. The candles flickered. From the shadows came a familiar voice. Part 7: The Secret of the Silver Woman. Eli stood completely still. The old woman who had first appeared at the entrance of his cave was standing before him again. But she was different. Her silver cloak was the same. Her calm voice was the same. Yet the kindness that had once filled her eyes had disappeared. The tiny fox named Luma stepped behind Eli. Do not trust her, the little creature whispered. Eli looked at the woman carefully. Who are you? The woman smiled. I have many names. Some call me the Dream Keeper. Others call me the Lady of the Silver Moon. She walked slowly around the room, looking at the hundreds of dream bottles. But names do not matter. What matters is that I have protected these dreams for centuries. Luma shook its head. Protected? You stole them. The woman's expression became cold. I saved them from people who did not deserve them. Eli frowned. Why would anyone not deserve their own dreams? The woman picked up a dark bottle from the shelf. Inside it, a tiny light struggled to shine. Because dreams are dangerous, she said. A dream can create hope. Hope can create change. And change can destroy everything. Eli looked confused. That does not make sense. The woman smiled. Doesn't it? People dream of becoming kings and queens. They dream of endless wealth. They dream of controlling others. Many wars began because someone wanted their dream more than they cared about others. She placed the bottle back. So I collected dreams. I hid them away. Without dreams, people cannot fight for impossible things. Luma stepped forward angrily. Without dreams, people also cannot believe in better futures. The woman ignored the fox. She looked directly at Eli. You understand, don't you? You lived in a cave. You know suffering. You know what happens when people want more than they have. Eli was quiet for a moment. The woman's words sounded reasonable. He had seen people become greedy. He had seen how wanting too much could hurt others. But then he remembered something. The old traveler, the hungry animals, the heart tree, the people of the valley. Dreams are not the problem, Eli said softly. The woman raised an eyebrow. Then what is? Greed. The room became silent. Eli continued. A person can dream of becoming rich and still help others. Someone can dream of being powerful and use that power to protect people. Dreams are not bad. It depends on the heart of the person who carries them. The dreamstone around Eli's neck began glowing. The woman's expression changed. For the first time, she looked uncertain. You sound like the ancient guardians. Who are they? She looked away. People who believed the same foolish idea. Eli noticed sadness hidden behind her anger. You knew them. The woman said nothing. Luma looked at Eli. She was once one of them. The old woman turned sharply. Enough. The entire room shook. The dream bottles trembled on their shelves. A dark wind filled the chamber. I spent hundreds of years watching dreams destroy lives, she said. I watched kingdoms fall. I watched friendships break. I watched people choose ambition over kindness. Her voice became softer. And I decided the world would be safer without dreams. Eli looked at her. Maybe you were hurt. The woman froze. Nobody had spoken to her like that in a very long time. You are not protecting the world, Eli continued. You are protecting yourself from being hurt again. The dark wind slowly weakened. The woman's eyes showed a small flash of sadness. But then the darkness returned. Perhaps you are right, she raised her hand. But I cannot allow you to return these dreams. The bottles began floating into the air. The door behind Eli disappeared. You have passed 2 tests, she whispered. Now you must face the 3rd. The room became completely dark. Only the dreamstone remained glowing. Part 8. The dream he never asked for. The room remained completely dark. Eli could not see the walls. He could not see the dream bottles. He could not even see the silver woman standing somewhere in the shadows. Only the gentle blue light of the dreamstone surrounded him. The woman's voice echoed through the darkness. Everyone has a hidden wish. A dream they keep buried deep inside their heart. If you are truly different, tell me. What is the one thing you desire most? Eli stood silently. Many thoughts appeared in his mind. He remembered cold nights inside the cave. He remembered his old blanket with holes. He remembered watching travelers pass through the mountain while he stayed behind. For a moment, a simple wish came into his heart. A warm home, a comfortable bed, enough food to never feel hungry again. But then another memory appeared. The animals that visited him. The strangers who smiled because of a small kindness. The peaceful nights beneath the stars. Eli opened his eyes. My dream is not for myself. The darkness became still. The woman sounded surprised. Not for yourself. Eli shook his head. I want the world to have more kindness. A quiet laugh came from the shadows. That is impossible. Maybe, Eli replied, but impossible things can become possible when someone tries. Suddenly, the darkness changed. The room transformed. Eli found himself standing outside his old cave. But everything looked different. The small cave had become a beautiful house made of golden stone. A large garden surrounded it. Trees were filled with fruit. A warm fire burned inside. On the table was more food than Eli had ever seen. A voice whispered, "This can all be yours." Eli walked closer. Inside the house were beautiful clothes, bags of gold, and shelves filled with rare treasures. A perfect life. A life many people would dream about. The silver woman appeared beside him. You could live here forever. You would never be hungry. You would never be cold. No one would ever look down on you again. Eli looked around. It was tempting. Very tempting. For someone who had lived with so little, this was a dream beyond imagination. Then he noticed something. The garden was silent. No birds sang. No animals walked nearby. The house was beautiful, but it felt empty. This is not my dream, Eli said. The woman looked confused. Why? Because happiness means nothing if it cannot be shared. The golden house began to fade. The treasures disappeared. The mountain returned. The woman stared at him. You rejected everything. Eli nodded. I don't need a life where I have everything but no one to care for. The dreamstone shone brighter than ever before. Across the room, hundreds of dream bottles began glowing. The dark ones slowly filled with light. Luma smiled. The dreams are waking. The silver woman stepped backward. For the first time, fear appeared on her face. No. A single dream bottle floated toward Eli. Inside it, he saw a young girl sitting beside a small river. She was crying. Eli looked closely. The girl was the silver woman herself. But she was young, very young. The vision showed her standing beside a group of people who laughed and dreamed together. Then one day, those people disappeared. Her smile disappeared too. The bottle revealed a forgotten memory. A painful memory. The silver woman whispered, I lost them. Eli looked at her with understanding. Your dreams were hurt. The woman lowered her eyes. Yes, and you thought taking dreams away would stop people from suffering. The woman said nothing. The room became quiet. Then a sudden sound came from far away. A deep rumbling beneath the ground. Luma looked toward the ceiling. Something is wrong. Eli turned. What happened? The little fox's expression changed. The stolen dreams were not the greatest danger. Part 9: The Awakening of the Dream Eater. The sky above the village slowly turned black. Not the darkness of night. It was a strange darkness that moved like smoke, covering the stars one by one. The dream bottles inside the room began shaking. Luma, the little silver fox, stepped backward. The Dream Eater has awakened. Eli looked toward the shadow spreading above them. What is the Dream Eater? The silver woman closed her eyes. Long ago, before I became the keeper of these dreams, there was a creature born from forgotten hopes and broken wishes. People created it without knowing. Every dream abandoned, every hope destroyed, every kind heart that gave up. All of those feelings gathered together until they became something alive. The room became colder. The wooden walls began to shake. And now it wants every dream in every world. Eli looked at the hundreds of glowing bottles. If it takes them, what will happen? Luma answered softly. People will stop imagining better days. Children will stop dreaming. Hearts will become empty. Eli looked at the silver woman. Can we stop it? The woman looked away. I tried once, and failed. Eli picked up the dreamstone. But you do not have to fight alone this time. The woman looked at him in surprise. You still want to help me? You made mistakes, Eli said. But I think you were trying to protect something important. For a moment, the silver woman said nothing. Then she slowly smiled. You remind me of someone I knew long ago. Who? She looked at the dreamstone. The first guardian. Suddenly, the entire room shook violently. A deep voice came from outside. A voice that sounded like thousands of whispers together. Dreams, hope, desire. They all belong to me. The door exploded open. A huge shadow entered the room. It had no clear shape. Sometimes it looked like a giant creature. Sometimes it looked like a storm. Sometimes it looked like a person made of darkness. The Dream Eater. Every dream bottle flew toward it. Eli grabbed one bottle before it disappeared. Inside was a child's dream of becoming a healer. The shadow laughed. Why protect such small dreams? They are meaningless. Eli held the bottle tightly. No dream is meaningless. The creature moved closer. You are only a poor boy from a cave. You have nothing. You cannot change anything. Eli heard those words again. The same words from the forest. The same whispers that tried to make him feel small. But this time, he was not afraid. I may be only one person, Eli said. But one small light can still defeat darkness. The dreamstone released a powerful blue glow. The shadow moved backward. The silver woman stared in amazement. The dreamstone has chosen you completely. What does that mean? Eli asked. It means. She looked toward the dark creature. You are no longer just a visitor. You are the new guardian of dreams. The Dream Eater roared. The battle for every forgotten dream had begun. Part 10: The First Guardian's Secret. The Dream Eater filled the room with darkness. The walls disappeared beneath waves of black smoke. The dream bottles floated around the creature like tiny stars trapped in a storm. Eli stood in the center of the room, holding the dreamstone tightly. His hands were shaking. He was not a warrior. He had never held a sword. He had never fought a monster. He was only a boy who lived inside a cave. But then he remembered something important. The strongest people were not always the ones with the greatest power. Sometimes they were the ones who refused to stop caring. The Dream Eater moved closer. "Give me the Dreamstone. I will give you everything you desire." Eli looked at the creature. "Everything? Yes. You can have wealth. You can have a palace. You can become the most powerful person in every world." Eli remained silent. The creature smiled. "Even your own home." The darkness changed. Suddenly, Eli saw his old cave. But this time, it was not empty. His parents were there. A warm fire burned. There was plenty of food. Everyone he had ever missed was waiting for him. For a moment, Eli's heart became heavy. It was the dream he had secretly carried for years. A place where he belonged. A place where he was not alone. The Dream Eater whispered, "Take it. You deserve happiness." Eli stepped forward. Then he stopped. Something felt wrong. The people inside the dream were smiling. But their eyes were empty. They were not real. They were only a picture created to control him. Eli closed his eyes. "My memories are precious," he said. "But I will not trade my heart for an illusion." The dream disappeared. The Dream Eater became angry. "You reject everything. I reject anything that takes away my freedom." The Dreamstone suddenly opened. A bright blue light spread through the room. Thousands of tiny lights flew from the bottles. Each light carried a dream. A child's hope. An artist's imagination. A farmer's wish for a better harvest. A lonely person's dream of friendship. The Dream Eater screamed, "No, those dreams belong to me." The silver woman stepped forward. "They never belong to you." The creature turned toward her. "You created me." The woman lowered her head. "Yes, I created you when I stopped believing in hope." The Dream Eater grew larger. "Then join me again. Together we can remove all suffering." The woman looked at Eli. Then she looked at the glowing dreams around them. Slowly, she shook her head. "No, I was wrong. I cannot remove pain from the world. But I can help people find courage to face it." The Dream Eater became weaker. Luma jumped onto a table and shouted. The first guardian left a message. Everyone looked surprised. The little fox pointed toward the Dreamstone. A hidden symbol appeared on its surface. A voice from the past echoed through the room. "When darkness rises, do not fight it with anger. Darkness grows from fear. Only understanding can end it." Eli looked at the Dream Eater. For the first time, he did not see a monster. He saw something lonely, something created from pain. He slowly walked closer. The creature stepped back. "What are you doing?" "I'm listening." The shadow became still. Nobody had ever said that before. Eli raised the Dreamstone. "Tell me why you are hurting." The entire room became silent. And deep inside the darkness, a forgotten voice began to cry. Part 11, The Forgotten Heart. The Dream Eater remained still. The darkness around it stopped moving. For hundreds of years, it had been feared. People had run from it. Guardians had fought against it. Everyone had called it a monster. But no one had ever asked why it existed. Eli stood quietly. "Tell me your story." The creature trembled. A deep voice came from the darkness. "My story? Yes." The Dream Eater slowly lowered itself. "I was not always like this." The room changed. The dream bottles began showing an old memory. A small village appeared. It was peaceful and beautiful. People laughed together. Children played near rivers. Families shared food under the trees. At the center of the village lived a young boy. He was kind. He helped others. He dreamed of making the world a better place. But one day, a terrible storm destroyed the village. Homes were lost. People became hungry. The boy worked every day to help rebuild. But more problems came. Some people became angry. Some blamed each other. Some gave up hope. The boy tried harder and harder. But eventually, he became tired. "I wanted to save everyone," the Dream Eater whispered. "But I failed." The memory continued. The young boy sat alone beneath a tree. He cried. He wished there was no more sadness. No more pain. No more disappointment. His sadness mixed with the forgotten dreams of many others. And from that pain, the Dream Eater was born. Eli watched silently. "You were once someone who cared." The creature's voice became softer. I wanted to protect people. But I became angry at the world. The silver woman looked down. That is how darkness begins. Not always from evil, sometimes from a wounded heart. The dream eater looked at Eli. Why are you not afraid of me? Eli thought for a moment. Because I know what it feels like to be alone. The creature became silent. Eli continued. Living in a cave taught me something. What? Even a quiet place needs warmth. Even a lonely heart needs someone who understands. The blue light from the dreamstone surrounded the creature. The darkness began breaking apart. Not violently, slowly, like ice melting under sunlight. Inside the shadow appeared a small figure. A young boy, the same boy from the memory. He looked tired and lost. The silver woman covered her mouth in surprise. The first forgotten dream, Luma whispered. He was the beginning. The young boy looked at Eli. After all this time, someone finally listened. Eli smiled gently. You were never meant to destroy dreams. You were only searching for peace. A single tear fell from the boy's eye. When it touched the ground, a beautiful flower appeared. The dream bottles returned to their shelves. The darkness vanished. Outside, the sleepless village slowly changed. People closed their eyes. For the first time in many years, they dreamed peacefully. The silver woman stepped beside Eli. You have done what many guardians could not. Eli looked at the peaceful room. What happens now? The woman smiled. Now you must continue your journey. Why? Because there are still many forgotten dreams across the worlds. The dreamstone glowed softly, and somewhere far beyond the stars, another dream was waiting. Part 12, The Valley of Endless Stories. The next morning, the village looked completely different. For the first time in many years, people woke up smiling. Children ran through the streets, sharing stories about the beautiful dreams they had seen during the night. Farmers looked at their green fields with hope. Families sat together and laughed beneath the warm sunlight. Eli stood beside the small fountain where the young girl had first spoken to him. The water was flowing again. The sound was peaceful, like a quiet song from nature. Luma, the silver fox, sat beside him. You changed this place. Eli shook his head. Everyone changed it together. The little fox smiled. You always say that, because it is true. The silver woman approached them. Her dark cloak had disappeared. Instead, she wore a simple silver robe that looked gentle and bright. I owe you an apology. Eli looked at her. For what? For taking away people's dreams. The woman looked toward the village. I thought I was saving the world. But I was only afraid of losing hope again. Eli smiled. Sometimes people make mistakes because they are hurt. She nodded. That is why the dreamstone chose you. Eli touched the glowing stone. Where will it take me next? The woman pointed toward the sky. A golden pathway appeared between the clouds. To the Valley of Endless Stories. What is there? Every story that was never told. Eli looked surprised. Stories. The silver woman nodded. Every person carries a story inside their heart. Some are forgotten. Some are hidden. Some are never shared. Why do they matter? Because stories connect people. They remind us that we are not alone. The golden path slowly moved closer. Luma jumped onto Eli's shoulder. I am coming with you. Eli laughed softly. Are you sure? Of course. Someone must make sure you do not give away your food to every creature you meet. Eli smiled. Together, they stepped onto the glowing path. The village became smaller beneath them. Clouds surrounded their feet. Stars appeared around them even though it was daytime. After a long journey, they reached a place unlike any other. A valley stretched endlessly in every direction. Thousands of glowing books floated through the air. Some were small. Some were enormous. Some looked ancient. Others looked brand new. Each book carried a different light. The Valley of Endless Stories, whispered Luma. Eli looked around in wonder. Who wrote all these? No one, answered the silver woman. These are the stories of lives. Every laugh, every tear, every choice, every moment that changed someone. Suddenly, one small book flew toward Eli. It landed gently in his hands. The cover was blank. Eli opened it. Inside were words slowly appearing. He read the first sentence. Once there was a boy who lived inside a cave. Eli froze. This is my story. The silver woman smiled. Yes. But why is it here? Because your journey has already become a story that others will one day need to hear. Before Eli could answer, the valley shook. Thousands of books stopped floating. The peaceful lights began fading. Luma looked toward the far mountains. Something is wrong. In the distance, a dark tower appeared. A tower that did not belong in the Valley of Stories. The silver woman's expression changed. No, what is it? Eli asked. She whispered. The story thief. Someone who does not steal dreams, but steals the stories of entire worlds. Part 13. The Cave of Forgotten Voices. Eli looked toward the dark cave above the valley. The entrance was covered with ancient vines, and a cold mist flowed out from inside. Unlike the peaceful caves of his mountain home, this place felt different. It felt empty, not quiet, empty, as if every happy sound had disappeared. Mira held her small glass jar tightly. Are you sure you want to go inside? Eli nodded. If someone's memories are trapped there, we should try to bring them back. The little silver fox, Luma, walked beside him. Remember, memories are powerful. They can bring happiness, but they can also bring pain. Eli smiled gently. Painful memories are still part of someone's story. Together, they entered the cave. The walls were covered with thousands of glowing marks. Each mark showed a different memory. A mother holding her child. A traveler seeing the ocean for the first time. A musician playing a song. A farmer planting his first seed. Eli walked slowly, amazed. These are all memories. Luma nodded. The memory collector keeps them here. Why? Because he believes memories cause suffering. They continued deeper. Soon, they reached a large underground room. Hundreds of glass jars filled the space. Inside each jar floated a small golden light. Mira ran forward. My father's memory. She pointed toward one jar. Inside was the image of a man smiling beside a young girl. But before she could reach it, a voice echoed. Do not touch what belongs to me. A tall figure appeared from the shadows. He wore a dark blue robe covered with silver symbols. His face looked old, but his eyes were filled with sadness. I am the memory collector. Eli stepped forward. Why are you keeping everyone's memories? The man looked at the jars. Because memories create pain. People remember loss. They remember mistakes. They remember moments they wish they could change. So I take those memories away. Mira became angry. You took my father's memory. The collector looked at her sadly. Your father forgot his pain. He also forgot the happiness connected to it. Mira became quiet. Eli understood. The collector was not trying to hurt people. He was trying to protect them. But he had forgotten something important. Painful memories can hurt, Eli said. But they also teach us. The collector shook his head. You are young. You do not understand. Eli looked at him. I lived alone in a cave. The collector looked surprised. I had many difficult days. But those memories taught me kindness. I remember hunger, so I share food. I remember loneliness, so I welcome others. I remember sadness, so I understand people who are hurting. The room became silent. The golden lights inside the jars began glowing brighter. The collector looked uncertain. Maybe I was wrong. Suddenly, the entire cave shook. The jars started falling from the shelves. A dark crack appeared on the floor. Luma looked frightened. This is not the collector's power. Something else is here. From the crack came a deep whisper. A voice older than the mountains. I have waited a very long time. The collector stepped backward. No. Eli looked at him. What is it? The man's face became pale. The creature that feeds on forgotten things. The darkness rose from the ground. The void of silence. Part 14. The void of silence. The underground chamber became colder than ice. The golden memories inside the glass jars flickered as the darkness rose from the crack in the ground. It was not like the Dream Eater. The Dream Eater had been created from sadness and forgotten hopes. But this creature was different. It had no shape, no face, no voice of its own. It was simply emptiness, a place where everything disappeared. The memory collector stared at it in fear. The void of silence. Eli looked at him. You know this creature? The collector nodded slowly. Long ago, before I collected memories, this darkness appeared in forgotten places. It does not steal memories. It destroys them. Mira held her jar tightly. If it takes my father's memory, will he forget everything forever? The collector looked at the darkness. Yes. Eli stepped forward. We have to stop it. The void moved closer. A strange whisper filled the room. Memories create pain. Memories create sadness. Forget everything. Be free. The words sounded peaceful, almost comforting. For a moment, Eli felt tired. He imagined forgetting every difficult moment. No more lonely nights. No more hunger. No more sadness. But then he remembered something. If he forgot his struggles, he would also forget the lessons they gave him. He shook his head. No. The void stopped. Eli continued. Pain is not the enemy. Pain can teach us. Memories make us who we are. The creature became stronger. You want suffering? No. Eli replied. I want people to remember both happiness and sadness. Because one helps us appreciate the other. The dreamstone began glowing. But this time, the light was not blue. It changed into a warm golden color. The collector looked surprised. The dreamstone is showing a new power. What power? Eli asked. Understanding. The golden light spread through the room. The forgotten memories inside the jars began floating upward. Thousands of memories surrounded the void. Happy memories. Sad memories. Beautiful memories. Painful memories. The creature began shrinking. No, I cannot exist where memories are accepted. The collector stepped forward. For years, he had hidden behind his belief that forgetting was kindness. But now he understood. He raised his hands. I return what I have taken. One by one, the glass jars opened. The golden lights flew back into the world. Across distant lands, people suddenly remembered. A lost song. A loved one's smile. A forgotten promise. A lesson from the past. Myra's jar opened last. The memory returned to her. She saw her father again. Not only his sadness, but also his laughter, his kindness, the way he held her hand when she was young. Tears filled her eyes. I remember everything. The void became smaller and smaller. Before disappearing completely, it whispered, I will return. Wherever people choose to forget. Then it vanished. Silence filled the cave, but this time, it was peaceful silence. The memory collector looked at Eli. I spent years believing I was saving people. But I was only hiding from my own pain. Eli smiled. Everyone makes mistakes. The man looked toward the restored river. What will you do now? Eli looked at the glowing dreamstone. I don't know. The little fox smiled. That means another journey is waiting. Far away, beyond the mountains and rivers. A new light appeared in the dreamstone. A place hidden even from the guardians. A place where time itself had fallen asleep. And Eli's next adventure was about to begin. Part 15: The Valley Where Time Slept. The next morning, the river of lost memories flowed again. The water moved gently through the valley, reflecting the blue sky above. Birds returned to the trees, flowers opened beside the riverbank, and the mountains seemed to breathe with new life. Mira stood beside her father, who had finally remembered everything. Not only the difficult moments, not only the painful ones, but every beautiful memory they had shared together. She hugged him tightly. Thank you, she said to Eli. Eli smiled. I only helped you find what was already yours. The memory collector watched quietly. He had returned the last of the stolen memories and decided to become a protector instead of a collector. I spent many years trying to remove sadness from the world, he said. But now I understand. Without sadness, people would never know the true value of happiness. The dreamstone glowed softly. A new image appeared, a valley covered in silver mist. At the center stood a giant clock made of crystal. Luma looked worried. The Valley of Sleeping Time. Eli noticed the fox's expression. You know this place? Luma nodded. Everyone knows it, but very few have ever returned. Why? Because time works differently there. The silver woman appeared beside them in a flash of gentle light. Eli smiled. You came. She nodded. This journey is more dangerous than the others. Why? Because the valley holds the memories of the past, the possibilities of the future, and the secrets of time itself. Eli looked at the crystal clock inside the vision. What happened there? The woman became serious. Time stopped. An entire valley fell asleep thousands of years ago. People, animals, even the rivers became frozen in a single moment. Eli asked, "Can they be awakened?" "Only if someone can answer the question hidden inside the valley." "What question?" The woman looked at him. "The most difficult question anyone can face." Eli waited. "Who are you?" The words were simple, but they felt powerful. Luma explained, "The valley does not test strength. It does not test courage. It tests whether someone truly understands themselves." Eli looked down at his hands. He was still wearing the same old clothes. He still carried the same simple wooden bowl. He was still the boy who lived in a cave. But he had crossed magical worlds. He had faced darkness. He had helped strangers. Maybe he was not as small as he once believed. A golden path appeared before him. Eli said goodbye to Mira and the memory collector. Then he began walking. The journey took many days. He crossed silent forests. He climbed mountains covered in white mist. He followed rivers that flowed upward into the sky. Finally, he reached the entrance of the Valley of Sleeping Time. A giant stone gate stood before him. Above the gate were ancient words. "Only those who know themselves may enter." Eli placed his hand on the stone. The gate slowly opened. Inside was a world frozen in time. A bird remained suspended in the air. A waterfall hung like glass. A leaf rested halfway between a tree and the ground. Everything was waiting. Everything was sleeping. Then a voice echoed through the valley. "Eli, you have traveled far. But before you continue, tell us, who are you?" Part 16. The answer within. The frozen valley was silent. The bird remained motionless in the sky. The waterfall stood like a wall of crystal. Even the wind seemed to be asleep. The voice echoed once more. "Who are you?" Eli looked around, but no one appeared. For a moment, he wondered how to answer. Was he a guardian, a traveler, a poor boy from a cave? None of those answers felt complete. He closed his eyes. "I am Eli," he said softly. The valley remained still. The voice replied, "That is your name. But who are you?" Eli thought again. "I am a guardian of dreams." Nothing changed. "That is your duty. Who are you?" He remembered his small cave beneath the Whispering Mountain. He remembered sharing berries with strangers, helping injured animals, and choosing kindness even when he had little. At last, he smiled. "I am someone who chooses kindness, even when it is difficult." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, the frozen leaf drifted gently to the ground. The waterfall began to flow again. The bird spread its wings and flew across the bright blue sky. Time had awakened. A warm breeze crossed the valley, carrying the scent of wildflowers. The crystal clock in the distance started ticking for the first time in thousands of years. Tick, tick, tick. Luma laughed with joy. "You did it." The valley was alive again. As Eli walked toward the crystal clock, he noticed people slowly waking from their long sleep. They looked around in amazement, as if only a single moment had passed. An elderly man approached Eli. "You freed us." Eli shook his head. "I only answered a question." The old man smiled. "Sometimes, the simplest answers are the hardest to find." Suddenly, the crystal clock began shining with golden light. Its hands started spinning faster and faster. Luma's smile disappeared. "That's not supposed to happen." The ground trembled. Cracks of bright light spread beneath the clock. The old man's face turned pale. "The seal of time." Eli looked at him. "What is happening?" "The seal is breaking." A deep sound echoed through the valley, like the ringing of an enormous bell. From inside the clock came a slow, powerful heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. Every tick of the clock became louder. The sky darkened. Clouds circled above the valley. Then a voice, older than the mountains themselves, whispered from within the crystal clock. "At last, I am awake." The old man stepped back in fear. "It cannot be." Eli tightened his grip on the dreamstone. "What is inside?" The old man answered in a trembling voice. "The keeper of time, and no one knows whether it is friend or foe." Part 17. The keeper of time. The crystal clock shone so brightly that Eli had to cover his eyes. The deep heartbeat echoed across the valley. Boom, boom, boom. Then, without a sound, the great clock opened. Golden light poured into the sky. From its center stepped a tall figure dressed in robes that shimmered like flowing starlight. His long silver hair moved gently, though there was no wind. In one hand he carried a simple wooden staff. His calm eyes rested on Eli. "So," he said with a gentle smile, "the valley has awakened." Luma bowed respectfully. The keeper of time, the old man and the villagers lowered their heads. Eli remained where he stood. "Are you truly the keeper of time?" he asked. The stranger nodded. "I do not control time. I simply protect its balance." He looked around the valley. "For thousands of years, I remained asleep because the valley itself was asleep." Eli touched the dreamstone. "Then why did the seal begin to break?" The keeper became quiet. "Because someone has been trying to change the past." A cold breeze crossed the valley. "The past?" Eli asked. The keeper nodded. "Across many worlds, someone is searching for the hourglass of first dawn." "What does it do?" "It can rewrite a single moment in history." Eli's eyes widened. "Someone could erase mistakes." "Yes," the keeper replied. "But they could also erase kindness, friendship, even entire lives." Luma whispered, "If the wrong person finds it, every world could change." The keeper looked at Eli. "I have watched your journey. You protect dreams. You restore memories. You choose kindness over power." He raised his wooden staff. "I have one final request." Before Eli could answer, the dreamstone floated into the air. It glowed brighter than ever before. A map of stars appeared above them. One star burned with a deep crimson light. "The hourglass is hidden there," the keeper said. "But you will not be the only one searching for it." "Who else?" The keeper's smile faded. "A traveler known only as the Collector of Time." No one knew his real name. No one knew where he came from. Only one thing was certain. He believed every mistake should be erased. And he would change history to make that happen. The crimson star pulsed once. Then another voice echoed across the sky. "Find the hourglass if you can. But remember, every choice has a price." The light faded. Eli looked toward the glowing star. Another journey had begun, and this time, the fate of the past itself was waiting among the stars. Part 18: The Journey to the Crimson Star. The crimson star glowed above the valley. Its light was different from every other star in the sky. It shimmered with a deep red color, as if it carried the memory of an ancient sunrise. Eli looked at the keeper of time. "How can I reach it?" The keeper raised his wooden staff. A circle of golden light appeared on the ground. From its center rose a small boat made entirely of crystal. It floated gently in the air. "This boat sails on rivers of starlight," the keeper said. "It will take you where no ordinary traveler can go." Luma leapt aboard with excitement. "It has been centuries since I last saw one of these." Before Eli stepped into the boat, the keeper handed him a tiny silver compass. "This compass does not point north." "What does it point to?" Eli asked. "The truth. If your heart is honest, it will always show the right path." Eli thanked him and placed the compass in his pocket. The crystal boat drifted upward. Soon the valley disappeared beneath the clouds. Mountains became small. Rivers looked like shining ribbons. Then even the world itself faded behind them. They entered a vast sea of stars. The silence was peaceful. Eli watched bright constellations pass by like floating gardens of light. Some stars were close enough to touch. Others seemed to sing soft melodies as the boat passed. Hours later, the silver compass began glowing. Luma looked at it. "We're changing direction." Ahead, 3 glowing paths appeared. One shone with gold, one with blue, one with crimson. "Which one leads to the hourglass?" Eli asked. The compass slowly turned and pointed toward the crimson path. Just as the boat entered it, a shadow crossed the stars. Someone else was traveling through the sky. Far in the distance, another crystal boat moved silently between the constellations. Its passenger wore a long dark cloak. The figure never looked back. But before disappearing into the red mist, a calm voice echoed across space. "I hope you are ready, Eli. The journey has only just begun." Part 19: The Lighthouse of Forgotten Time. The second crystal boat disappeared into the crimson mist. Eli stood at the front of his own boat, watching the silent trail it had left behind. "Was that the Collector of Time?" he asked. Luma nodded slowly. "I believe so." Neither of them spoke again. The crimson path stretched endlessly through the stars until, at last, a lonely island appeared. It floated in space like a forgotten world. At its center stood a tall lighthouse made of white crystal. Its light did not shine outward. Instead, it pointed toward the sky, as though searching for something that had been lost long ago. The crystal boat touched the shore. Eli stepped onto the silver sand. There were footprints leading from the beach to the lighthouse. "They're fresh," Eli whispered. Luma looked worried. "We're too late." The great door stood open. Inside, hundreds of ancient clocks covered the walls. Some ticked slowly, some moved backward, many had stopped completely. In the center of the room rested a glass table. On it lay an old leather journal. Eli opened it carefully. The first page read, "Time should never erase our mistakes. Asterisk. It should teach us to become better." Asterisk. As Eli turned the page, an old drawing appeared. It showed two young men standing beside a giant crystal clock. One of them was the keeper of time. The other wore the same silver hourglass that the mysterious traveler had worn. They were friends, Eli said. Before he could read further, a calm voice echoed behind him. "You always notice the important things." Eli turned. A tall man stood quietly in the doorway. He wore a long dark blue coat, and a silver hourglass hung around his neck. His face showed neither anger nor joy, only sadness. "I have been waiting for you," he said. "You are the collector of time." The man gave a small nod. "Yes." Eli tightened his grip on the dreamstone. "Are you trying to change the past?" The collector lowered his eyes. "I am trying to save someone." The lighthouse became silent. For the first time, Eli wondered, what if the collector was not the villain everyone believed him to be? Part 20. The story behind the hourglass. The collector of time stood quietly in the lighthouse. Outside, the crimson star glowed above the floating island. Inside, hundreds of clocks ticked at different speeds, filling the room with a strange rhythm. Eli studied the man carefully. He did not look evil. He did not look dangerous. He looked tired. Very tired. "You said you're trying to save someone," Eli said. The collector nodded. "There was once a girl named Lyra." As he spoke, a faint image appeared above the glass table. A young girl with bright eyes and a warm smile stood beside the collector. "We grew up together. She believed every life had value." The image changed. The two friends traveled through beautiful cities, forests, and valleys. They helped people wherever they went. She always saw hope where others saw failure. The collector smiled sadly. "She was better than I was." The image shifted again. Dark clouds covered the sky. A great storm appeared. Villages flooded. Mountains collapsed. People fled in fear. And in the middle of the chaos, Lyra was helping others escape. Then the vision froze. The collector lowered his head. She never made it out. Silence filled the lighthouse. Luma's ears drooped. "I'm sorry," the little fox whispered. "For years," the collector continued, "I accepted what happened. But acceptance did not remove the pain." His silver hourglass began glowing. "Then I learned about the hourglass of first dawn. The artifact that can rewrite a single moment in history." Eli understood. "You want to save her?" "Yes." The answer came immediately. The collector looked directly at Eli. "If you had the chance to save someone you loved, would you refuse?" Eli did not answer. The question was difficult. Very difficult. The collector walked toward a window overlooking the stars. "Everyone says the past should remain unchanged. But those people are rarely the ones carrying the loss." The room became quiet. For the first time, Eli truly understood the danger. The collector was not chasing power. He was chasing grief. And grief could be stronger than greed. Suddenly, the old journal on the table flipped open by itself. Its pages turned rapidly until they stopped at a hidden chapter. Golden letters appeared. "The Hourglass Chamber." Below the title was a map. Luma gasped. "It shows the location." The collector stepped closer. "So it does." At the center of the map was a symbol shaped like a sunrise. Beneath it was a warning. "Only one choice may be rewritten. But every change creates another loss." The collector's expression darkened. "What does that mean?" Before anyone could answer, the lighthouse trembled. A bell rang somewhere deep below. Then another. And another. The floor began to glow with crimson light. Eli looked down. Ancient symbols were appearing beneath their feet. The map had activated. A doorway slowly opened in the center of the room. Cold air rushed upward from the darkness below. Luma stared into the opening. The chamber. The collector tightened his grip on the silver hourglass. Eli held the dreamstone. Both knew the same thing. The next path would lead directly to the hourglass of first dawn. And soon, one of them might have to choose between protecting history or changing it forever. Part 21. The Chamber of First Dawn. The hidden doorway descended deep beneath the lighthouse. Stone steps spiraled into the darkness, lit only by small crystals glowing along the walls. Eli, Luma, and the collector of time walked carefully, saying nothing. The air grew colder with every step. After a long descent, the staircase ended before an enormous circular chamber. Its ceiling looked like the night sky, filled with moving stars. In the center stood a tall pedestal carved from white crystal. Resting upon it was a magnificent hourglass. Its frame was made of golden metal shaped like rising sunlight. Instead of ordinary sand, tiny particles of light flowed endlessly from the upper glass to the lower one. The hourglass of first dawn. Eli felt the dreamstone grow warm. The collector slowly stepped forward. So many years, so many hopes. His hand trembled. He was only a few steps away. Suddenly, a clear voice echoed through the chamber. "Stop." A figure of pure golden light appeared beside the pedestal. She looked neither young nor old. She wore a robe woven from rays of morning sunlight. "I am the first witness," she said. "I have guarded the hourglass since the beginning of time." The collector bowed his head. "I asked permission to use it." The first witness looked into his eyes. "Why?" "To save Lyra." She turned toward Eli. "And you?" "I came to protect the balance," Eli answered. The witness nodded gently. "Both of your reasons come from love." She raised one hand. "But love without wisdom can become destruction." The chamber filled with glowing images. Eli saw villages that had been saved by brave choices. Then he saw other villages destroyed because someone had changed the past. Every choice created another path. Every new path erased an old one. The witness spoke again. "The hourglass grants only one change. But every life restored causes another history to disappear." The collector's face turned pale. "So if I save Lyra, someone else may never be born," the witness replied softly. "Or a family may never meet. A kingdom may never rise. The future cannot remain unchanged." Silence filled the chamber. The collector slowly lowered his hand. For the first time, doubt filled his heart. Then the hourglass suddenly flashed with crimson light. A deep crack appeared across its glass. Luma gasped. "It shouldn't be breaking." The witness looked toward the ceiling. Her peaceful expression vanished. "No, it's here." The stars above the chamber faded into darkness. A cold laugh echoed from every direction. "I've waited for this moment." A shadow larger than the chamber itself spread across the ceiling. Two burning red eyes opened in the darkness. The first witness whispered in shock. "The Lord of Broken Time." Part 22. The Lord of Broken Time. The chamber trembled beneath the echo of the cold laughter. The stars painted across the ceiling slowly faded until only darkness remained. Two crimson eyes burned high above, watching everyone below. The first witness raised her hand, and a shield of golden light surrounded the hourglass of first dawn. "It has found us," she whispered. Eli looked up. "Who is it?" The witness took a slow breath. Long before the first dream, before the first memory, and before time flowed through the worlds, there was only balance. From that balance came two guardians. One protected the path of time. The other wished to control it. The second guardian believed pain should never exist. The crimson eyes flashed. "So I searched for a way to erase every mistake ever made." The deep voice filled the chamber. "They called me reckless. They called me dangerous. They were afraid of change." The shadow slowly took shape. A tall figure wrapped in flowing darkness stepped onto the stone floor. His cloak looked as though it had been woven from broken nights, and a shattered crown rested upon his head. "The Lord of Broken Time." The collector of time stared at him in silence. "You," he whispered. The Lord smiled faintly. "You know my story. I know your lies," the collector replied. The Lord laughed. "Lies? I offer the world a second chance. He turned toward Eli. You restored dreams. You returned memories. You healed wounded hearts. Tell me, young guardian, if you had the power to erase every sorrow forever, wouldn't you use it? Eli remained quiet. The question settled heavily in the chamber. The Lord continued, no child would lose a parent. No village would fall. No friend would ever say goodbye. Only happiness. The words sounded beautiful. Even Luma lowered his head, imagining such a world. But Eli remembered the heart tree. He remembered the dream eater. He remembered the memory collector. Every lesson had come through struggle. Without those moments, he would never have become the person standing here. He looked directly at the Lord. A world without pain might also become a world without courage. The Lord's smile disappeared. And without loss, how would people learn compassion? The chamber became silent. The dreamstone began glowing with a calm blue light. The first witness smiled gently. He understands. The Lord raised his hand. Then let history decide. Darkness rushed toward the hourglass. At the same moment, the golden shield around it began to crack. The final test had begun. Part 23: The Choice of the Guardian. The chamber shook as darkness collided with the golden shield. A deafening sound echoed through the ancient hall. Cracks spread across the glowing barrier surrounding the hourglass of first dawn. The first witness struggled to hold it together. I cannot keep the shield alive much longer. The Lord of Broken Time stretched out his hand. Black streams of energy wrapped around the hourglass. History belongs to those brave enough to rewrite it, he declared. The collector of time stepped forward. For a moment, Eli thought he would help the Lord. Instead, the collector raised his silver hourglass. A beam of white light burst from it, pushing the darkness away. I spent years wishing to change the past, he said. But I finally understand. You cannot heal yesterday by destroying tomorrow. The Lord's eyes burned with anger. You would abandon Lyra. The collector closed his eyes. I will always love her. But real love is not about refusing to let go. It is about honoring the life that was given. The silver hourglass shattered into thousands of tiny lights. Each light floated upward like a star. The Lord roared, "No!" The dreamstone in Eli's hand shone brighter than ever before. Its blue light joined the golden shield. The cracks stopped spreading. The first witness looked at Eli. The hourglass has accepted your heart. The hourglass of first dawn slowly rose into the air. Golden sand flowed upward instead of downward. A warm voice echoed through the chamber. Guardian of dreams, guardian of memories, guardian of time, they are not separate, they are one. 3 streams of light appeared. Blue from the dreamstone, gold from the hourglass, silver from the broken hourglass of the collector. They circled Eli gently. The Lord of Broken Time stepped backward. This cannot be. The 3 lights merged into a single radiant glow. Eli felt no hunger for power, only peace. He lifted his hand. I will not erase the past. I will protect the future. The light spread across the chamber. The darkness surrounding the Lord began to fade. For the first time in countless ages, the shadow around him weakened. He looked at Eli with tired eyes. You truly believe people can carry their pain and still choose kindness? Eli smiled softly. Every day, the Lord lowered his head. The black cloak dissolved into drifting mist. The shattered crown fell to the floor and turned into dust. The crimson eyes disappeared. The darkness was gone. The stars returned to the ceiling, brighter than before. The first witness bowed respectfully. The balance has been restored. Outside the lighthouse, a new sunrise slowly appeared over the endless sea of stars. But as Eli watched the first golden rays touch the horizon, the dreamstone gave one final pulse. Far beyond every world, a lonely mountain cave waited quietly. It was calling him home. Part 24: Home Beneath the Whispering Mountain. The crystal boat carried Eli back across the sea of stars. This time, the journey felt different. The stars no longer seemed distant. They shone like old friends, quietly guiding him toward home. Luma rested peacefully beside him. You've changed, the little fox said. Eli smiled. I still feel like the same boy. You are, Luma replied. But now you know how much one kind heart can change the world. Soon the Whispering Mountain appeared beneath the morning sky. Its familiar cliffs, Green forests and quiet streams welcomed Eli as if he had never left. The crystal boat gently disappeared. Eli climbed the narrow path to his cave. Everything looked just as he had remembered. The little spring still flowed beside the entrance. The old lantern rested on its stone shelf. His wooden bowl remained where he had left it. He laughed softly. Home. As he stepped inside, he noticed something waiting near the entrance. It was the shy rabbit that had visited him every morning. The owl rested above the cave. Even the curious fox from the forest had returned. It was as though they had been waiting. Eli shared berries with them, just as he had done before his journey. Nothing about his simple life had changed. Yet everything felt richer. As the sun began to set, a traveler appeared on the mountain path. His clothes were dusty, and he looked exhausted. "Excuse me," the traveler asked, "may I rest here for the night?" Eli smiled warmly. "Of course. I don't have much, but you're welcome to share what I have." The traveler accepted with gratitude. As they sat beside the small fire, he looked around the humble cave. "You live here alone?" "Yes. Don't you wish for a bigger home?" Eli looked toward the stars appearing outside. "I've visited beautiful places. I've seen crystal cities and magical valleys. But this cave reminds me who I am." The traveler smiled. "Then perhaps you are richer than many kings." That night, while the traveler slept peacefully, the dreamstone glowed with a gentle blue light. It no longer shone brightly. Its work was complete. Luma looked at Eli. "Will there be more adventures?" Eli gazed at the quiet mountain. "I don't know, but if someone needs help, I'll be ready." The dreamstone slowly dissolved into hundreds of tiny lights. They floated into the night sky, becoming new stars. Luma watched them disappear. The dreams belong to everyone now. Eli nodded. The mountain whispered softly in the evening breeze. Far away, children dreamed peaceful dreams. Families remembered happy moments. Travelers found hope during difficult journeys. None of them knew the name of the poor boy who lived in a cave. And that was perfectly fine with Eli. Because true kindness never asks to be remembered. It simply continues, quietly, like a small light in the darkness, helping others find their way home. Part 25: The Whisper That Never Ends. Many seasons passed after Eli returned to the Whispering Mountain. Spring covered the hills with colorful flowers. Summer filled the forests with birdsong. Autumn painted the trees with gold and crimson. Winter wrapped the cave in soft white snow. Through every season, Eli lived as he always had. He gathered berries. He fished in the clear stream. He welcomed every traveler who knocked on his door. The people who visited never knew they were sharing a meal with the guardian of dreams. To them, he was simply a kind young man who expected nothing in return. One peaceful evening, Eli sat outside his cave, watching the sunset. Luma rested beside him. "Do you ever miss the adventures?" the little fox asked. Eli smiled. "Sometimes. But I've learned something. The greatest adventures are not always found in magical worlds. They can happen when we choose kindness in ordinary days." Luma looked toward the valley below. "I think that's why the Dreamstone chose you." A gentle breeze passed through the trees. The Whispering Mountain began to sing its quiet song once more. This time, Eli understood every whisper. It was not speaking words. It was carrying the hopes of countless hearts across the world. A child hoping for tomorrow. A lonely traveler searching for a friend. A family wishing for peace. A dreamer refusing to give up. Their hopes drifted through the wind like invisible stars. Eli closed his eyes and smiled. Far above the mountain, one bright star suddenly shone brighter than all the others. Luma looked up. The Dreamstone. Eli nodded. It never truly disappeared. It became part of the sky. The little fox lay down beside the cave entrance. So what happens now? Eli looked across the endless mountains. Now, we live, we help, and when someone loses hope, we remind them that even the smallest light can guide the way. The moon slowly rose. The forest became quiet. One by one, the stars filled the night. Somewhere, a child fell asleep listening to a gentle story. Somewhere else, a tired traveler found the courage to continue. And high above them all, the Whispering Mountain watched in silence. Its greatest secret was never the magic hidden inside its caves. It was the simple truth a poor boy had discovered long ago. A heart filled with kindness is more powerful than wealth. A peaceful dream is stronger than fear. And even the smallest act of goodness can echo through the world, long after the story itself has ended. The end. Book 2 Part 1. The Call from the Northern Sky. A full year passed after peace returned to the Whispering Mountain. Eli's life became quiet once again. Each morning he gathered fresh berries, filled his wooden bowl with clear spring water, and welcomed every traveler who climbed the mountain path. Few people knew his name, and none of them knew about the worlds he had visited. That was exactly how Eli liked it. One peaceful autumn evening, he sat outside his cave while Luma chased glowing fireflies through the grass. "The stars are unusually bright tonight," Luma said. Eli looked up. "They almost seem closer." At that moment, the brightest star in the northern sky suddenly pulsed with a deep blue light. Once, twice, 3 times, the Whispering Mountain became silent. The wind stopped. Even the leaves on the trees stood perfectly still. Then a single beam of blue light descended from the heavens and landed on the cliff above Eli's cave. Neither Eli nor Luma spoke. Together they climbed the narrow path. At the top of the cliff stood a circle of glowing stones that Eli had never seen before. In the center rested a feather unlike any feather on earth. It shimmered with silver and blue light, yet it felt lighter than air. The moment Eli picked it up, the feather dissolved into tiny stars. A gentle voice echoed around the mountain. "Guardian, we need your help once more." The voice was familiar. It was the first witness. Before Eli could answer, a picture appeared in the air. A magnificent city floated high above the clouds. Its towers were carved from crystal, and great bridges connected islands drifting through the sky. But something was terribly wrong. The city was slowly falling. Piece by piece, glowing stones broke away and vanished into the endless clouds below. Luma stared in disbelief. "The city of ether. I've only heard stories about it. What is it?" Eli asked. "The oldest city in the sky realm. It was built before the first kingdoms existed." The vision changed. At the center of the floating city stood an enormous white tree. Its branches reached into the sky, holding hundreds of glowing feathers. Many of those feathers had already turned black. The first witness spoke again. "The sky tree is dying. If its final feather falls, the city of ether will disappear forever." The vision faded. The mountain breeze returned. Birds began singing again as though nothing had happened. Eli looked toward the northern sky. "So another journey begins." Luma smiled. "I had a feeling peace wouldn't last forever." Just then, a giant white bird appeared from the clouds. Its wings stretched wider than the tallest trees, and every feather shone like moonlight. The bird circled above the mountain before landing gently on the cliff. It lowered its head before Eli. Around its neck hung a small crystal pendant engraved with a single symbol. A feather surrounded by 7 stars. Luma whispered, "The Sky Guardians have sent for you." The great bird spread its wings. Far beyond the northern horizon, hidden above the clouds, the city of ether was waiting. And with it, a mystery older than time itself. Book 2 Part 2. The Flight Above the Clouds. The great white bird lowered one of its wings, inviting Eli and Luma to climb aboard. Eli gently placed a hand on its soft feathers. "They're warm," he whispered. Luma smiled. "Sky birds carry the warmth of the morning sun." The magnificent creature let out a gentle cry and leapt into the air. With a single powerful beat of its wings, the Whispering Mountain disappeared below. Higher and higher they climbed. The forests became patches of green. The rivers looked like silver threads. Soon they rose above the clouds, where the sky glowed with shades of blue Eli had never seen before. Floating islands drifted peacefully around them. Some carried tiny forests. Others held sparkling lakes that reflected the sunlight like mirrors. One island was covered entirely with bright blue flowers. Another was home to dozens of waterfalls that flowed into the clouds below without ever reaching the ground. "It's beautiful," Eli whispered. Luma nodded. "Few people ever see this place." Hours passed. Then the sky bird slowed. Far ahead, enormous gates appeared between 2 floating mountains. The gates were carved from white crystal and decorated with feathers of silver stone. But something was wrong. One gate had cracked down the middle. Pieces of crystal floated silently through the air. As the bird landed, 3 figures wearing white cloaks hurried toward them. Each carried a long staff topped with a glowing feather. One stepped forward. "I am Captain Saren of the Sky Guardians." He bowed respectfully. "Guardian Eli, thank you for answering our call." Eli returned the bow. "What happened here?" Saren looked toward the distant sky. For centuries, the sky tree kept every floating island in balance. But 3 nights ago, its highest feather turned black. Luma's ears lowered. "The black feather." Saren nodded. "It is an ancient sign." "A sign of what?" Eli asked. The captain hesitated. Then he answered quietly. "The return of the Storm King." A deep rumble echoed across the sky. Dark clouds gathered far beyond the floating islands. Lightning flashed inside them, yet no rain fell. Only wind. Cold, endless wind. Every sky guardian turned toward the horizon. Saren tightened his grip on his staff. "He's closer than we feared." Eli looked into the growing storm. "Who is the Storm King?" Saren's voice became almost a whisper. "He was once the greatest protector of the sky realm." What changed? He believed peace could only exist if everyone obeyed a single ruler. So he tried to command the winds themselves. The captain looked at the black clouds. The winds obeyed, but they also changed him. Another flash of lightning crossed the sky. For a brief moment, Eli saw a giant shadow moving inside the storm. It had enormous wings and glowing silver eyes. The sky bird stepped nervously behind Eli. Even it was afraid. Saren looked toward the distant city of Ether. "We must reach the sky tree before the storm does." Eli nodded. "Then let's not waste another moment." Far above them, hidden inside the dark clouds, something ancient opened its eyes. Book 2 Part 3. The City of Ether. Captain Saren led Eli and Luma through the great crystal gates. Beyond them stretched the City of Ether, more magnificent than Eli had imagined. Wide bridges of white crystal connected floating islands. Gardens filled with glowing flowers lined every pathway. Clear streams flowed gently through the city, disappearing over the edges as shimmering waterfalls that became clouds below. People dressed in pale blue robes moved quietly through the streets. But despite the city's beauty, no one smiled. Many citizens looked toward the northern sky with worried eyes. Dark clouds were slowly growing larger. "The city is afraid," Eli said. Saren nodded. "They know the legends." They crossed a bridge leading to the highest island. At its center stood the sky tree. It was enormous. Its silver trunk reached high into the heavens, while thousands of glowing feathers hung from its branches instead of leaves. The feathers shimmered softly in the breeze. Except one. At the very top of the tree, a single feather had turned completely black. It spread tiny strands of darkness through the surrounding branches. Eli stepped closer. The dreamstone, hidden beneath his shirt, suddenly became warm. Luma looked up. It recognizes the sky tree. Before Eli could speak, an elderly woman approached. Her robe was woven with golden feathers, and she carried a crystal staff crowned with a blue gem. Captain Saren bowed. "Guardian Elder." The woman smiled kindly at Eli. "I am Elder Arya, keeper of the sky tree. I've heard much about you." Eli looked surprised. "You know me." The first witness told us about the boy who chose kindness over power. She placed her hand gently on the tree. "The sky tree is alive. It feels every act of hope and every act of fear across the sky realm." "What caused the black feather?" Eli asked. Arya sighed. "We do not know. But every sunrise, another feather loses its light." Eli looked carefully at the tree. Near its roots, he noticed faint cracks glowing with dark energy. "They weren't here before," Arya whispered. Suddenly, a loud cry echoed across the city. Everyone looked toward the sky. A flock of white sky birds flew overhead in panic. Behind them rolled enormous black clouds. Lightning flashed without sound. The wind became fierce. One young guardian rushed onto the platform. "Elder Arya, the northern bridge has collapsed." Another guardian arrived moments later. "The western islands are falling." Citizens began running through the streets. Children held tightly to their parents. Captain Saren gripped his staff. "The storm has reached Ether." A powerful gust swept across the platform. The black feather trembled. Then, it broke free from the sky tree. Instead of falling, it floated upward into the storm. The clouds parted for a single heartbeat. A giant figure with wings of swirling wind appeared within them. Its silver eyes opened slowly. A deep voice rolled across the heavens. The sky tree remembers me. And soon, so will the world. The Storm King had arrived. Book 2 Part 4. The King Within the Storm. The Storm King's voice echoed across the sky realm. Dark clouds swirled around his enormous wings, and every beat of them sent powerful winds rushing through the floating islands. The citizens of Ether hurried to safety. Captain Saren stood before the sky tree, raising his crystal staff. "Sky Guardians," he called, "protect the tree." Dozens of guardians formed a circle around its silver trunk. Their staffs released beams of pale blue light that joined together, creating a shimmering barrier. For a moment, the fierce wind slowed, but the Storm King simply watched. He did not attack. Instead, he spoke calmly. "I did not come to destroy the sky tree." His voice carried across the city like distant thunder. "I came to awaken it." Eli frowned. What does he mean? Elder Arya's face grew pale. "There is an old legend." She looked toward the tree. "It says the sky tree has two hearts. One of light, and one hidden in shadow. If the hidden heart awakens, the skies themselves will change." The Storm King stretched out one hand. The black feather floating above him burst into hundreds of dark feathers. They drifted gently through the air like snow. Wherever a feather landed, the bright silver leaves of the sky tree turned gray. The barrier around the tree flickered. Captain Saren tightened his grip. "We can't hold it much longer." Eli stepped closer to the trunk. The dreamstone beneath his shirt glowed warmly. When he placed his hand against the silver bark, he heard a faint whisper. Not from the storm, from the tree itself. Help. It was weak, almost impossible to hear, but it was real. "The tree is speaking," Eli whispered. Luma looked surprised. "What is it saying?" "It isn't afraid of the Storm King. It is asking for help." Elder Arya closed her eyes. "I knew it. The darkness isn't coming from outside." Eli looked at her. "What do you mean?" She touched one of the gray feathers. "The shadow is growing from inside the tree." Before anyone could speak again, the ground beneath the roots cracked open. A pulse of black light shot into the sky. The barrier shattered instantly. The guardians were thrown backward by the blast. The Storm King did not smile. Instead, he lowered his head sadly. "I warned you. You tried to hide the truth for too long." The roots of the sky tree continued splitting apart. From deep beneath them came a slow heartbeat. Boom, boom, boom. Luma backed away. "There's something under the tree." The heartbeat grew louder. The silver trunk trembled. Then a deep voice echoed from beneath the roots. "I have slept for 1,000 years. And now, I remember my name." Every feather on the sky tree stopped glowing. The sky fell completely silent. Even the wind disappeared. Eli stared at the roots. Something ancient, something older than the Storm King, was beginning to awaken. Book 2 Part 5. The Heart Beneath the Roots. The heartbeat echoed through the city of Ether. Boom, boom, boom. Each beat sent gentle waves through the silver trunk of the sky tree. The glowing feathers became dim, and the floating islands trembled beneath the silent sky. No wind blew, no birds sang. Everything seemed to be waiting. A crack spread across the roots, growing wider until a circle of brilliant white light appeared beneath the tree. Eli stepped closer. Captain Saren raised a hand. "Be careful," but Eli could still hear the whisper. "Come." It was the same gentle voice he had heard inside the tree. Without fear, he walked toward the light. The dreamstone glowed softly against his chest. As soon as he reached the roots, the light surrounded him. The world disappeared. When the brightness faded, Eli found himself standing in a peaceful meadow beneath a golden sky. The air smelled of fresh rain and wildflowers. A young boy sat beneath a silver tree, quietly carving a tiny bird from a piece of wood. He looked up and smiled. "I've been waiting for you." Eli looked around. "Where am I?" "Inside the heart of the sky tree." The boy stood. He looked no older than 12, yet his eyes held the calmness of someone far older. "My name is Kylam. Were you calling for help?" Kylam nodded. "For 1,000 years. He gently touched the silver tree beside him. The sky tree is alive because my heart beats with it. Eli looked confused. Then why is it dying? Kylem's smile faded. Because people remember only half the story. He waved his hand. The meadow filled with glowing visions. Eli saw the sky realm long ago. The Storm King stood beside Kylem, laughing as they planted the first feather of the sky tree together. They were friends, Eli whispered. Kylem nodded. He was my brother. The vision changed. The two brothers argued. One believed the skies should remain free. The other believed the world needed strict order to survive. Their disagreement grew deeper until the sky realm was divided. The Storm King never wanted to destroy the tree, Kylem said quietly. He wanted to wake me. Why? Because I chose to sleep. Eli stared in surprise. You chose this? Yes. I believed my sacrifice would keep peace forever. Kylem lowered his head. But peace built on silence cannot last. The meadow began fading. The heartbeat became louder again. You must tell them the truth, Kylem said. They cannot save the sky tree by fighting my brother. They must heal what was broken between us. Before Eli could answer, the golden sky cracked like glass. Darkness poured through the opening. A powerful voice echoed across the meadow. Little brother, I have found you at last. The Storm King had entered the heart of the sky tree. Book 2 Part 6. Brothers of the First Sky. The golden meadow trembled. Dark clouds rolled through the crack in the sky, but they did not destroy the peaceful land. Instead, they slowly circled above it, as if searching for someone they had missed for centuries. The Storm King stepped through the darkness. Without his armor of wind, he looked older and calmer than Eli had expected. His silver hair flowed gently, and his eyes were filled not with anger, but with sorrow. Kylem looked at him. You finally came. The Storm King smiled sadly. I never stopped trying. For a long moment, neither brother spoke. The silence carried 1,000 years of regret. Eli watched quietly, realizing this was not the meeting of enemies. It was the meeting of two brothers who had lost each other. You should have awakened, the Storm King said. Kylem lowered his eyes. I believed my sleep would protect the sky realm. And I believed waking you by force would save it. The Storm King sighed. We were both wrong. The meadow filled with glowing memories. Eli saw the two brothers as children, racing across fields of clouds and laughing beneath the first sunrise. He saw them planting the tiny silver seed that became the sky tree. He saw them promising to protect the skies together. Then came the argument. Fear had divided them, not hatred. Fear. Kylem feared endless conflict. The Storm King feared endless weakness. Each wanted peace. They simply chose different paths. The dreamstone warmed in Eli's hand. He stepped between them. You both loved the sky realm. The brothers looked at him. You stopped listening to each other. The Storm King closed his eyes. I let my fear become control. Kylem nodded. And I let my hope become silence. The golden meadow began shining brighter. Far away, the great sky tree responded. Its gray feathers slowly regained their silver glow. Outside the vision, the citizens of Ether watched in amazement as light returned to the branches. Captain Saren smiled. The tree is healing. But suddenly, the ground beneath the meadow shook violently. A loud crack echoed across the sky. The brothers looked upward. A shadow spread behind the clouds. It was far larger than the Storm King. Far older than the sky tree. Kylem's peaceful expression disappeared. It followed you. The Storm King tightened his fists. I hoped it never would. Eli looked from one brother to the other. What is it? Neither answered immediately. Finally, the Storm King whispered. The tempest without end. The storm that existed before the first sunrise. It feeds on broken promises. The peaceful meadow began to fade. Lightning flashed across the golden sky. The tempest had found the heart of the sky tree. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the two brothers stood side by side, ready to face it together. Book 2 Part 7. The Tempest Without End. The golden meadow disappeared. Eli, Kylem, and the Storm King found themselves standing once again beneath the great sky tree. Outside, the city of Ether shook beneath roaring winds. The sky had turned almost black. High above the floating islands, a gigantic storm stretched across the horizon. It had no clear beginning, no end. Its clouds circled endlessly around a single eye of brilliant violet light. The tempest without end. Every guardian in the city stared upward in silence. Captain Saren gripped his staff. I've heard stories. I never believed it truly existed. The tempest did not speak. Instead, thousands of whispers drifted through the wind. Broken promises, forgotten vows, words people had once spoken and never kept. The voices filled the hearts of everyone who heard them. Some guardians lowered their heads in shame. Others remembered old mistakes they wished they could forget. Even Luma became unusually quiet. Eli felt the whispers trying to reach him. You cannot save everyone. You will fail, just as others failed. You are only a boy from a cave. For a moment, doubt entered his heart. Then he remembered every journey he had taken. The heart tree, the dream eater, the river of lost memories. Each challenge had taught him the same lesson. Kindness was strongest when hope seemed weakest. The dreamstone began glowing. Its blue light spread gently across the platform. The whispers grew softer. Kylam smiled. The stone is answering your heart. The Storm King stepped beside his brother. For centuries, I believed strength alone could protect this realm. Kylam nodded. And I believed sacrifice alone could do the same. They looked at Eli. You taught us another way. The brothers placed their hands upon the silver trunk of the sky tree. The tree answered. Thousands of silver feathers lit up at once. Their light rose into the dark sky like countless tiny stars. The tempest finally reacted. Its enormous violet eyes slowly opened. A deep voice rolled across the heavens. So, the keepers stand together again. Lightning burst from the clouds. It struck the edge of a nearby floating island. The island cracked and began drifting away from the city. People cried out in fear. Captain Saren called to the Sky Guardians. Evacuate the eastern islands. The Guardians rushed into the storm. Eli watched the frightened families below. He knew they had little time. The tempest spoke again. I do not seek your city. I seek the first feather. Kylam's face turned pale. The first feather. Eli looked at him. What is it? Kylam pointed to the very top of the sky tree. There, hidden among the shining branches, rested a single feather unlike the others. It glowed with every color of the dawn. The first feather carries the promise that created the sky realm. The tempest's violet eye blazed brighter. If I claim it, the sky itself will belong to me. The winds roared louder than ever. And the first feather slowly began to loosen from the highest branch. Book 2 Part 8. The Promise of the First Feather. The first feather trembled at the top of the sky tree. Unlike the thousands of silver feathers below it, this one shimmered with every color of the sunrise: gold, blue, pink, and white. Its gentle light spread across the city, keeping the floating islands balanced in the sky. The tempest without end fixed its glowing violet eye upon it. The promise is weakening, the ancient storm whispered. It has been forgotten. A violent wind swept across ether. The highest branches bent dangerously. Captain Saren struggled to remain standing. If that feather falls, he shouted, the islands will lose their balance. Below, frightened families hurried across the crystal bridges while the Sky Guardians guided them toward safer islands. Eli looked at Kylam. What is the promise? Kylam gazed at the shining feather. It was spoken on the morning the Sky Realm was born. My brother and I planted the first seed together. We promised that no ruler would ever own the sky. The winds, the clouds, and the light would belong to everyone. The Storm King lowered his head. I broke that promise. I wanted to control the skies. The moment fear entered my heart, the first feather began to fade. The tempest laughed. Promises always break. They are made by weak hearts. Eli stepped forward. I don't believe that. The storm's great eye turned toward him. You have never broken a promise. Eli became quiet. He remembered times he could not help everyone. Times when he arrived too late. Times when he wished he could have done more. I have failed, he admitted. But a broken promise can be repaired if someone has the courage to make things right. The dreamstone shone with a warm blue light. At the same moment, the first feather answered. Its colors became brighter. Kylam smiled. It still believes. The tempest roared in anger. Lightning raced through the clouds, striking the crystal bridges around the sky tree. Pieces of crystal rained into the open sky. One bridge cracked beneath a group of frightened children. Captain Saren tried to reach them, but the wind threw him back. "Eli!" he cried. Without hesitation, Eli ran across the shaking bridge. The wind pushed against him with incredible force. Each step became harder than the last. The children huddled together, too frightened to move. "It's all right," Eli said calmly. "I'm here." The dreamstone glowed brighter. A soft blue path appeared beneath his feet, holding the broken bridge together just long enough for the children to cross safely. As the last child reached solid ground, the bridge collapsed into the clouds behind them. The Sky Guardians cheered, but the tempest grew even darker. "You protect a few lives, while I can command the entire sky." Its enormous eye fixed once more upon the first feather. Slowly, the ancient feather slipped free from the highest branch. Instead of falling, it drifted upward into the heart of the storm, and the sky itself began to change. Book 2 Part 9, The Sky Without Dawn. As the first feather rose into the heart of the tempest, the light of dawn vanished. The golden glow that had always filled the sky realm faded away. The floating islands were covered by a strange twilight where neither day nor night existed. A cold silence spread across ether. The silver waterfalls slowed, the flowers folded their petals. Even the great sky tree stopped swaying. "It has begun," Kylam whispered. Eli looked up. The first feather hovered inside the violet eye of the tempest, surrounded by spiraling clouds. The ancient storm spoke. "For thousands of years, the promise of the first dawn has kept the sky free. It is time for a new promise." Lightning flashed across the heavens. "I will create a sky where nothing changes. No storms, no fear, no uncertainty. Everything will obey." The Storm King stepped forward. "I once believed those same words." He looked at Eli. "I was wrong." Kylam placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. "Then help us keep the promise we made together." The two brothers raised their hands toward the sky tree. Silver light flowed from the branches, but it was weak. Without the first feather, the tree could not reach the storm. Captain Saren hurried toward Eli. "The Guardians can protect the city for only a little longer." Around them, cracks spread through the crystal streets. Several floating islands drifted farther apart. Families embraced each other, afraid they would never meet again. Luma looked at the dreamstone. "It's trying to tell us something." Eli closed his eyes. The stone grew warm. Instead of showing a vision, it whispered a single sentence. "A promise lives only when it is shared." Asterisk. Eli opened his eyes. "I know what we must do." He climbed onto the highest branch of the sky tree. The wind pulled at his clothes, but he kept climbing until he stood beneath the empty place where the first feather had once rested. Then he turned toward the city. "Everyone," he called. His voice echoed across ether. The first feather was never powerful because it was magical. It was powerful because it carried a promise. If the promise belongs to all of us, then all of us must speak it together. The frightened citizens looked at one another. Elder Arya smiled. "I remember the ancient words." She raised her crystal staff. One by one, the Sky Guardians stood beside her. Then the families joined them. Even the children lifted their voices. Across the city, thousands of hearts spoke the same promise. "The sky belongs to everyone." Asterisk. "We will protect one another." Asterisk. "Together, we are stronger than fear." Asterisk. The words rose like music into the heavens. The first feather began to shine. Inside the tempest, the violet eye narrowed. For the first time, the ancient storm looked uncertain. And deep within the clouds, something began to crack. Book 2 Part 10, The Light Inside the Storm. The promise echoed across the sky realm. The sky belongs to everyone. The voices of children, guardians, elders, and travelers rose together until they became one powerful song. The first feather answered. Its golden light spread through the storm like the first rays of sunrise. The endless clouds trembled. A deep crack appeared in the violet eye of the tempest. For the first time in ages, the ancient storm cried out. "No, you cannot defeat me with words." Eli stood on the highest branch of the sky tree, holding the dreamstone close to his heart. "They are not just words," he replied. "They are a promise people choose to keep." The crack widened. Brilliant light poured through it. The Storm King and Kylam looked at each other. "Our turn," Kylam said. His brother nodded. Together they stretched their hands toward the heavens. Silver wind rose from the sky tree while gentle sunlight flowed from the first feather. The two powers met in the center of the storm. The tempest roared. Lightning burst in every direction. The floating islands shook violently, but this time the people did not panic. They stood together, holding hands, protecting one another. Captain Saren smiled. The city has remembered its true strength. The tempest's voice became weaker. "I was born from broken promises. I grow wherever trust is lost." Eli suddenly understood. The tempest was not trying to conquer the sky realm. It was feeding on fear and division. He stepped closer to the edge of the branch. "You don't have to remain a storm forever." The violet eye looked directly at him. "What do you mean?" "Every promise that is broken can become a lesson. And every lesson can become the beginning of a new promise." The dreamstone shone brighter than ever. Its blue light entered the heart of the storm. The first feather glowed with every color of dawn. The violet clouds slowly changed. Dark gray became deep blue. Deep blue became soft white. The roaring wind turned into a gentle breeze. The enormous eye closed peacefully. The storm began shrinking. At its center appeared a tiny bird made of shimmering light. It fluttered weakly through the air before landing on Eli's shoulder. Luma smiled. It was never a monster. It had simply forgotten its true form. The little bird sang a quiet melody. As it did, the floating islands stopped shaking. The crystal bridges repaired themselves. The silver waterfalls flowed once again. Sunlight filled the sky realm. Kylam looked toward his brother. "Our promise is finally whole." The Storm King bowed his head. "And this time, we will protect it together." The first feather drifted gently back to the highest branch of the sky tree. The moment it touched the tree, every feather burst into brilliant silver light. The city of Ether had been saved. But as everyone celebrated, the dreamstone pulsed once. Far beyond the northern sky, another ancient light awakened. Eli looked toward the distant horizon. His journey was not over yet. Book 2 Part 11, The Door Beyond the Horizon. Celebration filled the city of Ether. Silver bells rang from every crystal tower, and the floating islands glowed beneath the light of the restored dawn. Children laughed as the great sky birds circled above the city, their bright feathers shining like tiny stars. For the first time in many days, the people of Ether smiled without fear. Captain Saren approached Eli and placed a hand over his heart. "You have given our home a future." Eli shook his head. "We protected it together." The captain smiled. "Perhaps that is why you always succeed." Nearby, Kylam and the Storm King stood beneath the sky tree. The two brothers looked toward the endless sky, where the last traces of the tempest had disappeared. "I thought we would never stand together again," Kylam said. His brother nodded quietly. 1,000 years is too long for any misunderstanding. They embraced, and as they did, a gentle wind carried silver feathers